Wining and Dining with Jim White. Pleased to introduce you to Michael Martini with Louis and Martini Winery in Napa Valley. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us on the program today. You know, Louis and Martini has so many awards and high scores and so forth, it's hard to keep track of them. I'm just wondering if you might talk about a few recent accolades that you're particularly proud of.
The last round, which is very recent actually, with Robert Parker, we not only got a 95 plus on my 2006 Monte Rosso Cabernet, but on the 2007 Lot 1 we got a 94, and that's my Napa Valley Reserve line, and Spectator gave it a 94 also. Very few times do these two publications agree with each other, so it was kind of nice to see it all come together. Specifically proud of the 91 I got on my Napa Valley Cabernet, which is much more readily available to the general public. I think the biggest accolade is the fact that they're moving off the shelf. That means people like them, so we're doing the right job.
Obviously a heritage winery and a legendary family. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about your first introduction to the wine business and at what age.
The first time I actually have a memory of it, I was 6. And my father is known for his Pinot Noir clones from the Canaris area of Napa Valley. And he was out collecting budwood from the experiment that they were doing so we could plant blocks of them. And I was sitting on the back of his truck and he showed me how to strip the leaves and the tendrils off of the budwood he was picking. And I was actually sitting there doing it, and I realized later on that became part of the 3 clones that UC Davis put out as the Martini clone. That's probably a third of the plant is in the state of California today. So that was kind of cool when I realized that, but it took me another about 40 years to figure that out. When I was 10, my dad had the, I suppose, the place of mine. He said, look, if you want anything from now on, you have to earn it. And so he cut off our allowances and we went to work at the winery. He did that with myself and my 3 siblings. And he started by pushing brooms and packing gift packs and things like that. And you slowly, over time, we worked a half a day every day during the summer months. And we would work up, so we actually did absolutely everything there was in the winery. Running the bottling line, running the crush pad, running the tasting room, so forth and so on, until we were fully, I guess, certified OJT. And then I went to the University of California, Davis, and learned why I was doing that and how to make wine properly.
So 1977, if I remember.
1977. I got out of the military in 73, 74, 5, and 6. I worked with my father in the early mornings, and at night when I came back, I'd run the lab, and in the middle of the day, I'd drive to Davis and go to school. From
your website, the best grapes make the best wines. It's a simple philosophy, but is it ever hard to live by that?
Well, I think if you set the environment properly, then just get out of the way. And the winemaking is that simple. It's a natural process of yeast fermenting grapes. You know, if you left them on the vine, the same thing would happen. They'd fall on the ground and they'd go through fermentation and they'd start to rot and turn into vinegar. You know? So we got to set the environment so they don't rot and they don't turn into vinegar. What's happening. And then there's controls along the way that we can bring a lot of finesse to it. But 80% of any wine is the grape itself. So that statement is absolutely true. It all starts in the vineyards. Most of it's made in the vineyards. We pick our grapes on taste. They got to taste like the wine that we want to finish with. Because if we don't start there, there's no magic I can do to it. It's not magic. It's a lot of romance, but it's not magic. So what we bring to the table is a clean environment so that we don't end up with bad product.
Talk a little bit about some of the things you're most excited about now, either with Louis and Martini specifically or the wine industry in general.
In the industry at this point in time, I think values come back to the consumer. I think that the recession obviously helped that happen. People simply couldn't afford the higher end wines. But I think that overall the industry has really cleaned up their act. So you don't get any bad wines. You know, 30 years ago, you could pick up half the wines you got, you probably couldn't drink. You know, today it's really hard to find a bad bottle of wine out there, and I think that does the whole industry good. What I'm excited about is our new quest is to be the best, and so we have our Lot 1 reserve that we've been working on. But new doors have opened up for me, and we're experimenting with the creation of Cellar 254, which is our gravity flow winery that's inside of our winery. So a whole new world, getting some new equipment, getting some new financing has opened up the possibilities, and we're making huge strides. That's the scores that we started this conversation with.
Well, an early 20th century technique and brought back for the 21st century. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
was actually a 19th century technique. So we use pneumatic punch downs instead of climbing in the tank and stepping on the grapes anymore, but things like that. But above and beyond that, yes, we went back in time, and I think the hardest thing when you're a young winemaker to learn is patience. You always want to get in and mess with things, you know. And what you have to do is let things come to their own conclusion, and that's the hardest. I mentor a lot of winemakers now, and within my system, and our arguments come across. And I said, you know, if you leave it alone, it'll get right. You know, that'll go away, or whatever it happens to be we're talking about, and so it's, you know, that to me is exciting, but I think they figured it out a long time ago.
Well, now, we're not trying to put you out to pasture, but you were the third generation winemaker starting at a very young age. What's ahead for the fourth generation?
Well, actually, I have a daughter in chemical engineering now, and she's starting to think about it. She has not made any commitment. She's following her career course back in the Research Triangle in North Carolina. So then I have a 13-year-old at home that claims she will be a fourth generation winemaker. I said, you can wait and give me that. But so maybe two of them will go in, I'm not sure.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to see you again. Michael Martini, Louis and Martini Winery, Wining and Dining with Jim White.